They say happiness has a rhythm, quiet, repetitive, comforting. Mine sounded like morning coffee bubbling, laughter echoing in the hallway, and the familiar sound of his keys jingling as he came home from work. For 7 years, I believed our life was ordinary in the best way possible. Every morning, I would wake up before him, make tea, and watch sunlight spill across our small kitchen table. He'd walk in, still half asleep, kiss my forehead, and say, "You're my peace." I used to smile at that line. I believed it. We had plans, a house we were saving for, a vacation we never seemed to take, and dreams that felt close enough to touch. To anyone looking in, we were a perfect couple. And for a long time, I thought we were too. But perfection is a fragile illusion. It cracks quietly before it shatters. I started noticing little things first, small, almost invisible changes. He stopped leaving his phone on the table. His laughter became shorter, his eyes distant, his hugs slightly mechanical. "Work's been crazy," he said. I wanted to believe him, so I did. Love, after all, teaches you how to trust even when your heart trembles. Then came the evenings. He'd sit beside me, scrolling through his phone, smiling at something unseen. When I'd ask what was funny, he'd just shake his head, saying, "It's nothing." And maybe it was nothing, or maybe it was everything I didn't want to know. One night, he came home late, past midnight. His excuse was simple: meeting ran long. He smelled faintly of perfume. Not mine, the kind that lingers on a stranger's wrist after a careless touch. I told myself not to be paranoid. He loved me, he always had. But when you love someone deeply, you start to notice the silences between words, the pauses that weren't there before. One Sunday morning, as I folded laundry, I found a receipt tucked into his jeans. A cafe I'd never heard of. 2 coffees, 1 slice of red velvet cake, and a date that didn't match his supposed business trip. My fingers trembled. I told myself it must be a client meeting, a friend, anything but what it looked like. Because once you name a fear, it becomes real. That night, as I watched him sleep, I whispered quietly, "Please, let me be wrong." But deep down, a voice I couldn't silence answered back, "You're not." Section 2. The Unraveling, 700 words. The days that followed felt heavier. His words, his touch, even his presence, everything carried a weight I couldn't name. He started leaving early and coming home late. When he spoke, his tone was clipped, polite, as if we were strangers living under the same roof. I tried to reach him, to ask what was wrong, but every time I did, he'd smile, deflect, and disappear behind that invisible wall. One evening, while he was in the shower, his phone lit up on the nightstand. A message preview appeared. Greater than, "Last night was perfect. I can't stop thinking about you." The world seemed to tilt. My breath caught in my throat. My fingers hovered over the phone, frozen between curiosity and fear. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. That one line was enough to unmake my world. When he came out, wrapped in a towel, humming a tune, I smiled. I smiled because pretending was easier than breaking. That night, I lay beside him, eyes open, heart pounding. I memorized the sound of his breathing, the rhythm of a man who could sleep peacefully while lying next to someone he was betraying. The next morning, I made breakfast like always. Toast, eggs, tea. He kissed my cheek before leaving and said, "Don't wait up, it'll be a late one." The words felt sharp now. Every syllable cut deeper. I spent that day moving like a ghost through my own home. Every room held a memory, laughter, fights, promises, all suddenly tainted. When he came home past midnight, I sat quietly in the dark, pretending to sleep. His phone buzzed on the counter. I saw the same name appear again, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow." My chest burned, but my tears refused to fall. The next morning, I followed him. It wasn't a decision, it was instinct, the kind that rises when love turns to suspicion. He drove across town, to that same cafe. I parked a block away and watched. She arrived, smiling, glowing, comfortable. They hugged like 2 people who'd done it 100 times before. His hand rested on hers across the table. My world went silent. I didn't go inside. I didn't confront him. I just sat there, staring at the reflection of two people laughing over coffee, realizing one of them was the man I thought I knew. When I finally drove home, I didn't cry. I just stared at the empty bed that night and thought, so this is what it feels like to lose someone who's still alive. The next morning, I couldn't pretend anymore. He walked into the kitchen, whistling softly, pouring himself coffee like nothing had happened. The smell of betrayal was thick in the air, invisible but undeniable. "Can we talk?" I asked quietly. He froze for a moment, then nodded. When I said her name, his face changed, the mask slipped. A flicker of panic, then guilt, then silence. He didn't deny it. He didn't even try. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he said. "It just did." That line, "it just happened," broke something inside me. Love doesn't just happen, and neither does betrayal. "How long?" I asked. 6 months, he whispered. 6 months. That meant birthdays, anniversaries, dinners, all those moments I thought were real had already been shared with someone else in his heart. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there, feeling a quiet numbness take over. He said he was sorry. He said he loved me. He said it meant nothing. But love, once betrayed, doesn't heal with apologies. It dies slowly, piece by piece. That evening, he packed a small bag and went to stay with a friend. I watched him leave, the same man who once promised me forever. When the door closed, silence filled the space between us. It was heavy, but also freeing. For days, I wandered through the house like it belonged to someone else. I found little reminders, his watch on the nightstand, his scent on the pillow, a note from months ago that read, "You make me better." I burned it. It wasn't rage, it was release. Nights were the hardest. My mind replayed every memory, trying to find the exact moment love turned to betrayal. But there wasn't one. It had happened quietly, like a slow fade. And yet, amidst all that pain, something inside me whispered, "You will survive this." Because betrayal may break your heart, but it also reveals your strength. It's been 8 months since that day. I moved into a smaller apartment, one with sunlight, plants, and silence that feels like peace instead of loneliness. Sometimes, I still think about him. Not with anger anymore, but with acceptance. I realized that infidelity isn't just about losing someone, it's about rediscovering yourself after being forgotten in someone else's story. I started painting again, something I hadn't done since before we met. I met new people. I laughed again, genuinely, freely. Healing isn't linear. Some days, I still wake up missing the version of him I loved. But then I remind myself, that version never truly existed. Last week, he called. He said he missed me, that the other woman was gone, that he made a mistake. His voice trembled. I listened. Then I said, "You didn't lose me because you fell in love with her. You lost me the moment you stopped respecting me." There was silence. Then a quiet goodbye. That night, I stood by the window, watching the city lights flicker. For the first time, I didn't feel broken. I felt whole. Pain had become my teacher, showing me the strength hidden beneath softness. I realized that love, real love, isn't about possession or promises. It's about honesty, even when it hurts. And now, when people ask if I'd ever love again, I smile and say, yes, but this time, I'll love myself first. As I close this chapter, I leave you with this. Greater than, sometimes the message that breaks your heart also sets you free.